fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode. My name's Sean Wasserkrug, and today I'm going to be reviewing the latest Netflix film to hit streaming, The Gray Man. Now, for many people, The Gray Man has been a film that's been on a lot of people's watch lists. It did get released in select theaters last week, but I'm watching it now today on Netflix. But the big thing that's been kind of catching a lot of eyes for Gray Man is, A, not only its cast, but B, its directors. It is directed by the Russo brothers, which many people know the Russo brothers for MCU with Captain America Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame, plus them reconnecting with Captain America himself, Chris Evans, in the lead villain role of this film. But, I mean, you also got Ryan Gosling, who's a popular amongst everybody. You got Ana de Armas, who's flipping amazing. Jessica Henwick, who's also amazing. You got Billy Bob Thornton. I'm honestly trying to remember the last film I saw Billy Bob Thornton in. It's been a while. You also got Alfre Woodard, and from, what was it, I think, Bridgerton, I believe, Regé-Jean Page, who's a nice up-and-comer for a lot of the ladies. But when the first trailer got released for The Gray Man about a month or two back, it definitely had that kind of, in the way Brian, my co-star Brian, and I talk about, big movie feel and not a Netflix feel. Because yes, Netflix movies, while they can be entertaining, you usually can kind of see the budget behind them going, this feels like a Netflix movie, or this feels like a big budgeted box office, movie theater film that's on Netflix. And Gray Man definitely had that big box office movie theater type feel, and less like a Netflix film, aka like Red Notice, which was mostly behind green screen. But The Gray Man is a book series. I think there's like 12 books, or I think the 12th book comes out here next month. So this is a potential series. If it does well enough, we could be seeing a lot more of these down the road. For me, I kind of went into this one with limited expectations. I love most of the cast that's in this film, and obviously I love the Russo brothers' direction. But because they decided to put this on Netflix instead of doing a wide release in movie theaters, it did leave me a little hesitant and worried on whether or not this would be good, or would it be another Red Notice situation where it's like big name cast, story not so great, not a fun time overall. Gray Man, though, shockingly, I enjoyed for the most part. I actually had a lot of fun watching this film. It does have its issues, like most movies do. But I will say the one thing that I really did enjoy most about this is definitely it's got great visual style. The Russos have always been great at that, making sure everything looks great and shot really well, and the action sequences are exciting and keep you glued to the screen. This is definitely a movie that if you have a chance to see it on a movie theater screen, I would encourage you to do that instead of watching it at home on Netflix. But not everyone has this movie around in their theaters, so if your only option is Netflix, there's nothing wrong with that. But this is definitely a movie that you should be watching on a TV and not on a laptop or a cell phone. The main plot of The Gray Man is when the CIA's most skilled operative, whose true identity is known to none, accidentally uncovers a dark agency's secrets, a psychopathic former colleague puts a bounty on his head, setting off a global manhunt by international assassins. So you got a little bit of like John Wick-ish stuff here. You got some Jason Bourne, James Bond-ish kind of stuff through this with Ryan Gosling's character, who is known as Six. I believe he actually has a name in the book series, though, but in the movie he's just known as Six. And he's basically doing a mission, like, honestly, and that's the thing in terms of this, it's like, anyone who's seen any assassin film at all in the last, like, 20-some years, the story itself is not really doing anything to break the mold. It's following the same almost kind of structure to a point that we've seen tons and tons and tons before. But like I've said on previous reviews about movies that have very similar plots compared to many films before, yes, you can do the same thing over again plot-wise, but how unique can you get with it? How fun and energetic can you get with that with different elements of the story or the action or the cast? And that's what Gray Man does really well here. The story itself, not anything super exciting, not anything that's really great or it's going to leave you longing for more story. You're watching this for the cast and for the action set pieces throughout this film. And there's one set piece in this film, I'm going to call it basically the tram chase scene, that is beautiful to watch. And it's in the trailer if you guys have seen it. It is definitely their biggest budgeted scene in the film. It's shot beautifully. The action sequences, the choreography of it all looks incredibly great. There is a train, or not a train, there's a plane sequence at one point of the film that, while inside the plane looks really great, once you go outside of the plane, I do think the CGI doesn't work nearly quite as well. But if there's any nitpicks in terms of action choreography, it would be that scene. Other than that, a lot of the hand-to-hand fighting and choreography through most of everything in this film is very solid, very fun, and enough points where you can go, ooh, when anything happens in the movie. In terms of the cast, Ryan Gosling, 6. Gosling has been doing a really good job of getting these roles, where he plays this epic badass that really doesn't say a whole lot in terms of dialogue, except for just looking super, super serious. He did the same thing in Drive and other films, and he does a lot of that here in The Gray Man. He does get to talk a little more in this film compared to others, but there is a lot of him just kind of stoically looking off in the distance and doing more with his actions and less with his words. The one person that I enjoyed the most out of this film is absolutely Chris Evans. He plays Lloyd Hansen. He's the villain in the film. He's having a blast. And one thing that I've noticed most about Chris Evans is that everyone loves Chris Evans for the most part. I mean, he's Captain America. But I love Chris Evans more when he plays a villain character. Whether it be Scott Pilgrim vs. the World or Knives Out or in The Gray Man, he just has so much fun being this kind of asshole character, or a villain in this case in the movie. He's just a blast to watch, because you can see how much fun he's having. He's hamming it up. He's got this awesome mustache in the movie that I kind of almost wish he had a handlebar so he could do this, but that would be totally overplaying the hand. But Chris Evans is having a blast playing this character, and I enjoyed watching him anytime he's on screen. His dialogue in this is just funny. He's got these little one-offs that just work. With anyone else, it probably wouldn't have worked, but for Chris Evans, it works for me. Ana de Armas, always amazing. She definitely gets more to do in the second half of the film. She does disappear for a good chunk of the first half. But when she does come back and becomes a focal point of the story, she's great as always. I will watch her pretty much in anything because I just am a huge fan of her. Billy Bob Thornton is solid in his role as Fitzroy, who is the guy who recruited Gosling 6 and has kind of become this mentor of him. Alfre Woodard's got a small role in the film as Maurice Cahill. I think she was really solid in her performance overall. And also Julia Butters. Many people know her from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She pretty much went toe-to-toe acting-wise with Leonardo DiCaprio as the little girl in the cowboy scene. She was hands down my favorite performance of that movie, and she was a standout for me in that film. She's in this as Claire. She plays Fitzroy's niece, and she's definitely grown up compared to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and she does a solid job in the film. I think she has great banter back and forth with Gosling and Evans. I do feel there was a little more for her to do. I wish there was a little more for her to do, but she's not the focal point of the film. Obviously, the action set pieces and Gosling, Evans, and de Armas are the main focal points, but I definitely want to see her in more things, because I think she's a young actress who is way better than she really should be at her age, and she's someone who really needs to get more options to kind of go out there and show people just how good of a young actress she really is. My two problems that I do have in the film. Like I said, the story itself, it's very paint by numbers. It's not going to break the mold of anything. But your two lead, like CIA or agents, operatives, whatever you want to call them, you got Regé Jean Page, who plays Carmichael, and you got Jessica Henwick, who plays Suzanne. I don't know much about Regé Jean Page, outside of he's the guy from Bridgerton. A lot of people want him to play Bond, which personally I don't see that. His Carmichael character, he basically kind of plays the sleazy head of the CIA agency, the guy who's kind of in charge of everything, who's the bad guy who, you know, is going to get his comeuppance at the end of the film kind of character. But they don't give him a whole lot to do in this movie, and if you're going to cast a young, up-and-coming star, I kind of expected them to give him a lot more to do. Now, granted, Brian and I had a discussion about this after we saw the film. There is a potential chance of there being spawning sequels of this and more movies, and he could have a bigger role. Same thing with Henwick's character, you know, maybe in future installments. But in this film, I felt like they really did not utilize him in this role, and they really could have gotten pretty much anyone to play this character in the role instead of using Regé Jean Page. Like I said, if they come out with future installments that utilize him more, I reserve the right to change my opinion. But in this first film, I feel like he is underutilized in the role overall. Jessica Henwick, I love her. I think she's fantastic. She's got charisma, she's got the look, and she has the fighting styles and abilities. So when I knew that she was going to be in this film with Ana de Armas, Gosling, and Evans, I was super excited to see some action set pieces with her because I know she's capable of doing those things because I've seen her do them before. This movie completely neuters Jessica Henwick. She is basically a CIA suit that just stands around and argues and gets stressed out about everything going on. She doesn't get a single action scene in this film, and which that to me is like the equivalent of putting Jean-Claude Van Damme as the man behind the chair, or Jackie Chan, or Jet Li. You have this fantastic fighting actor at your disposal, and you don't give them one fight scene in this whole movie. And it was one of those things where I just kept waiting and waiting and waiting, and it never happened. Could it happen in future installments? God, I hope so, or what was the fucking point of casting Jessica Henwick in this role? I'm glad she's getting roles, because I love her, but let her out of the box. Let her play, because I just kept waiting for her to kind of bust out and do some badass fun stuff, and her character just is a very reserved kind of character role, and frankly, once again, if you're not going to use her for that, cast her as a different character, cast her as one of the assassins, or give her a bigger role that allows her to show her skills, especially in a movie like this, and not as a suit that's basically kind of like Regé-Jean Page. It just kind of stands around and talks the whole time. So that disappointed me greatly in the film itself overall. Not to mention, the choices for her and Ana de Armas' hairstyle in this movie is atrocious. Giving them kind of like little short bob haircuts was a poor choice by the Russo brothers overall. But taking those two performances out of the situation, if you're not a huge fan of Jessica Henwick or Regé-Jean Page, you're not going to have a big problem with that as much as I do, or many people who are fans of them will have. But in a nutshell, is this movie enjoyable to watch at home on Netflix or in theaters? And the answer is yes. I think Gosling does enough to bring to the table to be a fun character that you can pay attention to and really grab onto, like a Jason Bourne's type character. Chris Evans plays a great, fun villain that you can have a lot of fun watching. And Ana de Armas is awesome as always. And the action set pieces and styles look great throughout. So in terms for me, I definitely recommend The Gray Man, whether it is in theaters or whether it's on TV at home on Netflix and not on your laptop or cell phone. Going to my overall score, I'm going to give The Gray Man a 77%. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, Brian Michaels and myself will be back with the Movie Crusaders chat about the Marvel MCU Phase 4 so far. Also, my reviews for Nope, Sea Beast, RRR, and Emergency are all on the channel right now. Those dropped here the last couple days. Next week, we'll be back again, Brian and myself, for a franchise flashback of Alien and Predator franchise before Predator's new movie Prey comes out on August 5th on Hulu. We also will have reviews for DC League of Super Pets and potentially Hulu's I'm Not Okay starring Zoe Deutsch. That comes out next week. I may get to watch that. If I do, there'll be a review for it. If not, then it'll come out at some point. And then, of course, on August 5th, we've got Bullet Train, Prey, and Bodies coming out. So we got plenty of stuff coming up on the channel here, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.